Today we are going to make a very simple red wine vinegar, and this is your starting process. If you've never made vinegar before, you will need to buy some store-bought vinegar, and you want the stuff that's got with the mother. So I've just got Bragg's, it's the most common stuff, and you can see the sediment and the mother in that. So the first step we have to do, most commercial wineries put sulfites in their wine, and they do this to stabilize it, to stop it re-fermenting, and also to prevent it from oxidizing and turning into vinegar. But we're trying to make vinegar, so what we need to do first is we need to neutralize the sulfites that are in this. To do that, we pour it into our jar that we're going to be using. It's okay to splosh it around, this is a good thing. Then we need to add in half a teaspoon per 750 ml bottle of hydrogen peroxide 3% solution. So half a teaspoon of peroxide. And we give it a whisk. And let that sit for just a couple of minutes. While we're letting that sit, we have to work out how much we need to dilute this by. So the bacteria that creates vinegar are acetobacters, and they convert alcohol into acetic acid. Excuse me. But they can't operate at higher alcohol percentages. Their sweet spot is between 5 to 9% alcohol or ABV. Now, this bottle of wine is 14% alcohol by volume. So that's quite high. So we need to dilute that. So we go, there's a mathematical equation, so we will have to do a bit of maths, so I'm going to write it down. We go 14 times our volume of 750 mils, excuse the cat in the background. So 14 times 750 equals 10500. Now I want to bring, I'm going to use this down to 7%, but for the calculation I'll do it down to 6%. So then we go 10,500 divided by 6%, and that equals 1750. Now that's how many mils we have. Now we started with 750, so we need to add 1,000 mils or 1 litre of water to dilute this down to a 6% concentration. I'm actually going to do mine to 7%. So that's really easy. I don't even need to use maths to do that. If I'm going from 14 down to 7, that's 50%. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill this wine bottle up with tap water. We've got good water. It's rainwater. It's raining right now. So I'm just going to fill this up with tap water and pour that in, because that's now sat for long enough. Excuse me while I reach in front of the camera like this. It's also a good way of rinsing out the bottle, sorry, to get the last of it. Alright, so that will now be sitting at 7%. Then we need to inoculate with your vinegar mother. Now the mother is not that thick layer that sits on the top, that's called pellicle. The mother is actually the acetobacters, the bacteria that is already in the liquid here. So we want to use a concentration of, so a ratio, sorry, of 4 to 1. So if it's, say, every 4 cups of wine equals 1 cup of vinegar. In this instance, we're we've now got 1500 mils of the water wine mix. So that means we need 375 mils of our vinegar. So I'm just going to use a scale because I don't have a pain in the backside trying to use measuring jugs. So I'm just going to add 375 grams, it's close enough, of vinegar. Oops, a little bit more than I needed. Oh well, it's only 15 grams. Right. Put a quick mix up. And then we cover it. I'm just using an old hanky and a rubber band. This is to keep out bugs, like fruit flies and whatnot. And now you just put it somewhere reasonably warm, just sort of room temperature, but you want it to have airflow, so you don't want it in direct sunlight. I'm going to put it over by our fireplace where the sun doesn't hit it, but it's room temperature and it gets airflow across the top. So making vinegar is as simple as that. I also keep records, so here is my record sheet. So it's a red wine vinegar. I've used a clean skin wine. I've used 750 mils. I've used water, 750 mils. I've used peroxide, half a teaspoon, which is 2.5 mil. And in the end, I used 390 mils, so I was 15 mils over, of Bragg's vinegar. And that's pretty much what I start with if I'm starting from absolute scratch. So my alcohol percentage is going to be 7%. And I've got a final volume of approximately, give or take, 1900 mils, sorry, so nearly 2 litres. That's almost a half gallon. If you had a big enough half gallon jar, you could actually put that in there. Yeah, so if you say your alcohol percentage on your wine is only 12.5%, and you dilute it down to 7, you'd only add, say, 600 mils of water. You'd also need only 340 mils of vinegar, in which case you could get away with putting it into a half gallon jar. This is a little 2 litre jar, and as you can see, it's nearly at that 2 metre mark. So now we put it aside and we ignore it for about 4 weeks. And that, folks, is quite simply how you start a red wine vinegar using store-bought wine and store-bought vinegar. Now, this will be the last time you will need to use a vinegar mother, because once this has become vinegar, you can use this as a mother for future batches of vinegar. So thanks for watching, folks. I hope you've learned something.